Okay, now to try to introduce firecracker Jen Sincero. Sex advice columnist, novelist, motivational cattleprod, musician. As a matter of fact, you're hearing her voice and guitar in the background now, as well as throughout this interview. This native New Yorker left behind CBGB gigs for a life in Venice Beach, Southern California, where she writes her syndicated sex advice column, Living in Sin. Her 2 books have sold phenomenally.
I've written 2 bigger pieces of fiction, and both times I had to remove my life and really immerse myself in the project, to the point where I kind of went a little bit crazy, where I really believed the world and believed it was happening, and I fell in love with the male character that I have my lead character for. I went a little kookaroo, but in order for me to create a believable world, I have to believe it myself. I'm sure there's healthier ways to do it, but I wrote the whole book in 3.5 weeks because I just got in there and didn't leave my house, and was the hairy woolly mammoth in my pajamas and covered in cat hair, and neighbors were throwing cheeseburgers in the window at me and slamming the door. I was a crazy person, but I don't know how people do it otherwise, because that world has to be real. So.
Well, focus.
Focus, the F word.
And your novels?
I've only written 1 novel, but it was about my experience in my rock band. That's the thing about writing, for me, is it always starts out with sort of a clear vision, and then you start to write and it just is whatever, which is why I like books so much better than scripts, because scripts you have to be super anal retentive. You have a very specific number of pages, and certain things have to happen in each act to move the story along. But when you're writing a book, like with Don't Sleep With Your Drummer, I started writing, and it was supposed to be autobiographical and nonfiction, and then it just went crazy, and I lied all the way through because it was so much more fun. So that's the fun thing about books, is they can just take off. And characters can sort of lead the way. I had this one character who was supposed to just be a tiny little character, and she just took off, and she was my favorite character by the end of the book, which is rare. Writing for me is a very painful, slow, tedious process, and to actually have something like that happen was huge for me, just where a character is doing most of the work instead of me. Really appreciated that. I sort of define beauty as something that takes me out of myself and connects me to the greater universe. That really sort of I'm a total nature-asaurus. I'm obsessed with it, and just that completely puts me in the moment and makes me think of things much, much bigger than myself and much bigger than everything that you sort of see. I feel like it transcends.
How do you know what to follow?
Whatever's the funnest. Definitely. And the advice column is so fun, and so I really want to get that. And it's also sort of interactive in a way, because people write in, and even though you're still alone in a room, at least there's input from the outside world. So that's fun. And people's problems are crazy. And it makes you realize a lot about yourself when you're answering them. And one of the great things about writing an advice column is you realize, people will write in with these questions that are so obvious to me. It's my husband beats me up, he won't let me hang out with my friends, he's awful to my kids, what should I do? And you're reading it are you insane? If this was, and I'm always just pretend your friend is asking you this question, leave the jerk. But then I was God, I'm probably that blind to my own problems. So sometimes I write my advice column myself and ask a question, and it's amazing how much easier it is to answer it when you think it's somebody else. I'm very easy to trick. I can actually believe, where did that question come from? It's amazing. Yeah, so.
Jen, you ever notice that an angry woman isn't a popular lady? Jen, did you ever notice? Did you ever notice? You don't know me.
Do you have a ritual or a path that you use to trigger the muse?
I think shutting up is the path. I think if you can just shut up and get out of your own way, that's always my struggle. I literally feel sometimes, especially with music, it was a totally different process, but with writing, I almost feel like I can see myself standing like this and right in front of me, 2 inches from my own face, not letting myself pass. And for me, a big part of writing is just shoving her out of the way and letting the work happen. I'm really in my own face about it. I can't really describe it. Like I drive myself crazy. I cannot let the flow happen. Whereas with music, I'll sit down for 8 hours in the same position and be crippled because I can't stand up because I haven't moved. And that is a much more, I mean, and it gets hard too. I mean, you know, music isn't all that easy, but a lot of times I get way more caught up in it than I do with writing. Mm-hmm. I think imagination can come from a bunch of different places. Like I think, because I was a copywriter for a long time, so I had to come up with witty one-liners. Like that was my job, and we had deadlines. So, you know, I was very focused in my cognizant mind of coming up with stuff. That was my job. So, yeah, I do think there are definitely times when I'm just like, you know, hanging out eating a lollipop, and all of a sudden, bazam, you know, some huge idea comes to me. But I also definitely think that you can sit down and rip it out of your brain and consciously like get an idea for sure. And seeing other people's stuff can spark an idea. I think it comes from all over the place. Like you just have to sort of do what's happening in my life. Like I wrote about my band, and then I wrote about that, and then, you know, the next person I sleep with, I'll write about them. But yeah.
You have to fill out a form.
Yeah, before they have sex with me, like a release form.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
For all media possibilities.
Yes. Anything you do in this bedroom can and will be used. Personally, I've gone to really beautiful places to write. Like I went up to the Oregon coast and went with these two friends of mine to write. I didn't get one word down on the goddamn page because I was always like out looking at the ocean, playing with my lip. Like literally, I could have spent the whole day there just flabbergasted. So it's almost like LA is a really great place for me to write because I don't like LA very much. Really, like it's almost too much. Like there's not room for all of it. Like if I'm going to go bye-bye into writer land and have the flow happen, I can't have some gorgeous rock formation outside my window because it's almost too much. Yeah, poor LA. Me and LA don't get along. And it was a big move for me to move to Venice because I love Venice. And that ocean is right around the corner. The fact there's this heaving mass of water around the corner just makes my hair stand up all the time. So it's almost too risky for me to live here, but I think I'm keeping it together. I'm getting some work done, so we'll see. I think there's a huge judgment in our society, and I think that's why I'm not doing music right now, honestly, because I feel like that's like the most irresponsible art form. Like if you think you're going to make money in a living as a musician, you're high. And you kind of are. I mean, the way that whole system is set up. And I feel like being an author is the next rung on that bottom feeding level. Like, you know, being an author, you're not going to make a living doing that either. So I think that there's zero respect for artists in our culture, unfortunately. I think that's the battle of the artist in America, as far as I'm concerned, is really taking yourself seriously and cutting out all judgment and really understanding that that's what you do and being proud of it and thinking it's an important part of our world, that you're contributing just as much as a doctor or, you know, but it's a struggle. You know, it's not about you, relationship issues.
Why is it you pursued writing over your music career?
I'm a good writer. I'm not a great musician, so I think it's a lot more fun. I think once you start getting good at something, you're much harder on yourself. So when it's all fun and games and you're creating and you got your crayons out and you're coloring out the lines and you don't care because you don't know what you're doing, it's so much easier. The second you get any knowledge or skill in your possession, suddenly it becomes much more serious and you can't screw around. And Pete Townsend, I read, he was like my hugest hero growing up, and I heard that he hated writing music and he hated playing the guitar.
Oh, really?
And as a writer, that really gave me hope. Like, if somebody can write Quadrophenia and hate it, I can write the best book in the world. The fun, I think, keeping the fun is always a challenge, like making it fun and getting off your own back and pushing yourself out of the way.